Welcome to Writing Formulas with Polyatomic Ions. Now we're going to get into the final stage of ionic nomenclature. Best way to do this is just jump in. So we've got sodium hydroxide that we need to come up with a formula for. Ask yourself your questions. Question number 1, is it an ionic or a covalent compound? Well, sodium is a metal, so it's ionic. Question number 2, since it's ionic, does it contain a type 1 or a type 2 metal? Well, I have no Roman numerals up here. That means it's a type 1 metal. Remember, if it's a type 1 metal, that means that I have to look at the periodic table to figure out what the charge is. Then question number 3, we didn't ask this in the last video, we kind of shortcutted. Does it contain a polyatomic ion? Well, your giveaway is the ending on the anion. This one ends in IDE. Well, all of my nonmetals end in IDE. However, remember I told you to memorize 2 of those anions, those polyatomic anions? What were they? Cyanide and hydroxide. If you look for hydroxide on here, you will not find it. You have to have that memorized so that you can look at this and go, yeah, it ends in IDE, but it's the hydroxide ion. That means it's on the polyatomic ion list. So let's go ahead and figure out what our formula is. Well, sodium, look at your periodic table. Group 1, so he has a +1 charge. And then the hydroxide ion, remember he's a polyatomic ion. He's right up at the top. Those 3 that you have to memorize are right at the top. And it is OH minus. So I have a +1 and a -1. Those go together and cancel each other out. The formula is NaOH. I don't need any parentheses in this formula because I only have one hydroxide, one O, one H, in order to cancel out the sodium. Let's do another one. So we have titanium 4 phosphite. Ask yourself those questions again. Question number 1, is it an ionic or a covalent compound? Remember those Roman numerals tell you it's a type 2 metal. Well, if it's a metal, it's an ionic compound. So I know it's ionic and I know it's type 2. There's the charge right there. I don't need to look at the periodic table in order to get the charge. Question number 3, does it contain a polyatomic ion? Remember, we look at the ending on the anion, phosphite, ITE. That ITE says it's a polyatomic ion. In fact, if you look at this list, you'll notice that all of them, except for those ones you have to memorize, end in either ITE or ATE. So if this ending is ITE or ATE, you have a polyatomic ion. And the reason I need to know that is because I need to know the charge so that I can do the cross down in order to balance my charges. So let's go ahead and write it. Well, titanium is Ti. It's a 4 plus, always a plus because it's a metal. And then phosphite, I'm going to look on my list, and here's my phosphite right here, and it is PO3, 3 minus. Now I'm going to do my cross down. The 4 is going to come down, the 3 is going to come down, and I get Ti3, PO3, but I need 4 of them, so I have to put the parentheses, and there's my formula for titanium 4 phosphite, Ti3, PO3, 4. Let's do another one just to make sure. Ammonium chloride. So, question number 1. Is it ionic or covalent? Ammonium. Is that a metal? This is one of your polyatomic ions that you're supposed to have memorized, right? It's the only polyatomic cation. So if you recognize that, then you know that it is ionic. That's why you memorize it. It's ionic. The whole idea of a type 1 or a type 2 metal, however, fails in this case because it's not a metal at all. So knowing that this is a polyatomic ion, I know it's ionic. I know that I have a polyatomic ion, and I don't need to worry about this because it's the ammonium ion, so type 1 or type 2 metal is not applicable, Na, in this case. So I'm going to look at my list, ammonium ion, NH4+, chloride ion, IDE, it is not hydroxide or cyanide, so that means it comes off the periodic table. It is Cl-, and I'm looking at a +1 and a -1. Those just go together in a 1-to-1. NH4Cl is the formula for ammonium chloride. Now you know how to name and write formulas for all different kinds of ionic compounds. Have fun!